It's not the first time that I'm happy. It's not the first time I feel good. But it's been a while since that happened, knock on wood. I try to stay cool on the surface. I'd ask you to stay if I could. Though my lips are sealed, you still get me, yeah you do. That's why I said that we should be more than a couple. Of ours is not enough, so kiss me again.
So hey everybody, it's Mickey, and I am so excited today to share with you my cozy winter home tour. You know, this is the time of year where we pull together, huddle in at home, stay warm, and spend time with the ones that we love the most. This is going to be a very laid-back walkthrough of my home, so if you have questions about something that you see, be sure to leave them in the comment section down below. If you're new here, I hope you'll take a minute to subscribe. I put out new videos every week about all things home. I think that we can all probably agree that coming home at the end of a busy day is just the best feeling there is. This is the place where we can come to be our most authentic self, surrounding ourselves with the things and the people that bring us the most comfort. I really do think that decor can help along the way by setting the tone or the vibe that your house brings. Keeping everything cozy is pretty much the theme for decorating this time of year. And to do that, I have really kept my color palette so simple and neutral. I am sticking with those creams and whites and greens, and I've also added in some really beautiful pines and pine cones. Ribbon is one of my favorite things to use whenever I am decorating, and I was so lucky to find this beautiful ribbon at the at-home store. I actually found it last year, and I was on a search for it again this year. I ended up finding it online, so I ordered a bunch of it because, you know, whenever I find a ribbon that I love a lot, you will find it throughout my house. Now, this does read just a little bit Christmas because it has the pine tree on top of the card, but I just could not pass up the beautiful neutral backdrop of it. It has the white little speckled snow coming down and that beautiful color green that is just my favorite. I used this beautiful ribbon to make this big fluffy bow atop of my galvanized metal lantern that I have here on the table in my hallway. I think I found this lantern at either Marshall's or Home Goods. I just love it. I have it out all year long. On the inside, I think I'll go around the side here so you can get a better look. I have one of those little white ceramic houses I think that we all collected from Target a few years ago. I just think it looks so perfect in there, especially when it lights up at night. I've also added a sprig of pine, a little lamb's ear, and a pine cone from our yard. I just think that pine cones are just the most beautiful, one of the most beautiful things in nature. What I have been doing recently with my decorating is when I make a little display, I like to layer it. So I have this burlap covered frame behind my lantern here. Down below where my little bear is on my preschool chair, I have a couple layers behind him. I found those at Hobby Lobby, but you can pretty much find things like this anywhere. I have my bear sitting on a little wooden cutout, and again I have some of that beautiful pine, and he's holding a big old pine cone. I just love layers. I really think that it adds depth to your decorating, and especially since I am trying to pedal myself back a little bit, layering I think just kind of fluffs up what you already are doing and adds a little bit more interest to it. Above this table on the big mirror I have this big beautiful spray that I made a couple years ago. I did it for Christmas, I think it was like 2020. and I loved it so much that I've kept it up year after year. And I also have a big bow with my favorite ribbon there in the middle. I've added this ribbon to pretty much all my wreaths here in the hallway. I have 3 wreaths here in the hallway. I have a large one here on my chalk painted cabinet, and then I have 2, one on the powder room door and another on the laundry room door. This big beautiful wreath that I added to the front of my chalk painted cabinet here in the hallway, I made from a base that I found at the At Home store. I just love that pale green silvery color of the leaves. All I did was I added a big fluffy bow made with my favorite ribbon. I paired it with some black and white buffalo check, and then I just added a pair of ivory skates. Having a 2-story foyer here in the hallway has allowed me to decorate on the top of my tall chalk painted cabinet. Brought you in a little bit closer so that you can get a better look. You know, it has been so much fun for me over the years to come up with different displays up here. So for the winter, I have a large blanket basket that I filled with a couple cozy throws. I have a pillow there that the case I found on Amazon. I have a really pretty spray of some pine and winter greens. In the wooden bowl there, I have a rustic cake stand that I've got from a DECOCRATED box, and on the inside I just have a small vase with some greenery and little white flowers. On the other side of our entrance is our living room and dining room. These rooms are decorated in a lot of grays and creams and blacks, and I always think of these 2 rooms as kind of working together. During the holidays, we usually have our table extended all the way out into the living room so we can seat as many people as possible. And this is the room where we visit with a lot of family and friends, especially during the holidays. So keeping with that cozy theme, I have a big blanket basket here underneath my secretary's desk. Inside, I have a plaid black and gray blanket that I found on Amazon. On top here, I have one of my vintage typewriters, all decorated for the season with a big fluffy bow and a little pine cone there. This secretary's desk is one of the first, we'll say, grown-up pieces of furniture that I ever bought for myself. I have had it for so long, and it's still one of my most favorite pieces of furniture. It's like a central spot in whatever room I put it in. On top there, I have a door from an old china cabinet that has a bunch of family photos strung along there. I have them held on by just one of those little laundry clips. I just love family photos. They are one of my most treasured possessions. I have them in every room. I just think that it's so important to surround yourself, you know, with the faces of the people that you love the most. I always have my vintage Smith & Corona typewriter here. I was so excited a couple years ago to find it at an old antique store. I could not wait to get it home. My husband worked on it for, you know, a few days, got it working, and it has been sitting here ever since. I have it all decorated up for the season with that ribbon that I got at the At Home store that is like throughout this downstairs. I just have it paired up with some black and white buffalo check ribbon. I have a pretty little glittered pine cone there sitting on top of a wooden snowflake and some books. I was talking earlier about layering pieces, and that's kind of what I've done here. I think that it looks so pretty. It gives it a lot of depth. And I like things that you can take a little bit of time to look at all the details. This This is the side of my living room that you don't see very often. That's where I have my Christmas tree, you know, during the holidays there in the corner. This is my favorite chair. This is my little spot in the house that I'm always in. This is where I talk on the phone. This is where I read my books. I just love that chair. Now this used to be in the family room before I moved in my little red plaid chairs, and I love it in this spot. I think it goes just perfectly. It has a really cozy knit blanket on the back. I have a little Boyd's Bear there, and underneath I have a basket that is full of pine cones. Whenever my husband and I go out for walks and things, we always pick up a few if we see them. I have pine cones from all of my kids' college campuses. When my one son Danny goes on hikes, he always brings me pine cones home. That's where I keep them, down in that basket. In the middle here is probably one of my most treasured possessions. This is my grandma's 1910 Singer sewing machine. This was a gift from her mother to her, and it's probably where my very first memory of my grandma is. I have a memory of her when I was a really little person, maybe 3 years old, sitting with her while she was sewing. So it is such a treasure to me to have this in my house. And then this little spot right here, this is one of my dining room chairs. I'm in the process of reupholstering a chair, so hopefully in the next couple months I'll be able to switch this one out. So here in my dining room, I have my table all set up. We really don't use it much in, the months following the holidays. We probably won't be back in here with a family dinner until probably close to Easter time. So I love having it all set up with place settings. I keep things, like I said, very simple. I have a little greenery placemat here that I got at Pier 1. This is a really pretty wooden charger plate that I just got before the holidays from Kirkland's, and I have another woven placemat here with a very simple dish towel napkin with a little greenery and a pine cone. And this is another Lazy Susan that I found at Home Goods. I really love Lazy Susans. I think they are like the perfect little centerpiece for any of your tables. Putting your centerpiece on a tray of any kind really does make it easier if you want to, pick it up and move it out of the way if you're going to have a meal here or a family game night, put a puzzle together, any of those things. So on top of here, I have an urn that has one of my pine trees in it with a little bit of that shredded paper that I always talk about that you can find at the Dollar Tree. I have a couple candlesticks here with battery operated candles, and I have this really pretty spray of pine with some pine cones. I really think this looks just perfect. In the corner of this room, I have my corner cabinet that has a wire basket on top with a bunch of Rae Dunn mugs in it. I love these little shelves here. I always switch them out, several times a year. On the top shelf there, I have a picture of my mom and brother and I when we were really tiny. I have a picture here of all of my kids on some coverless books, and then I have a stack of Rae Dunn mixing bowls. This is the wreath that we created in my last video. I think it looks really great right there. It's so simple. It's just perfect on that little vintage door with all of those pictures around it. I think this is such a great backdrop for any family dinner. It is so funny because whenever I have people over, the conversation eventually gets to all of the pictures behind them. They want to know who everybody is, when the picture was taken, and I just love being able to talk about the family, you know, and all these happy events in our life. And finally, in the corner here, I have this blanket ladder that I had first in the family room, then it was in the hallway, and now it's in the dining room. I have it decked out for winter with a couple mittens. I have this great snowflake sign that I found at Hobby Lobby, and again I have more of that beautiful ribbon there with some greenery attached, and this is just another place for me to hang some of our favorite family photos. Moving on into my little kitchen here, this is where I have some Valentine's Day decor. I like to keep it here in the kitchen. This is where I spend the majority of my time anyway, so it is just fun to have a little bit of color for the season. My countertops pretty much stay the same all year, except of course, you know, around Christmas time, I usually tend to add a few more things to it. But the one thing that I always have out is my Rae Dunn canister. This was the very first pieces that I ever collected of Rae Dunn, and I think they're probably my favorite. I like to keep them here on this little wooden tray that I found at Target, and to, you know, bring it into whatever season we're in, I just add a little bit of decoration to the side here with some greenery. I have a little bow and a little wooden pine tree. I think that it looks just perfect, fits into our wintertime theme just perfectly. Throughout the year, I always have these two-tiered trays on each side of my stove. I think I got them at Home Goods and one at Marshall's. This one is all decorated with a little white church that I found at Target, along with that little ceramic truck. I have a DECOCRATED candle behind there, and then on the bottom I have a Hugs and Kisses Rae Dunn canister. That wooden heart I found at a local antique store, and I've added some vintage buttons to it, and in the back is just a little Hugs and Kisses sign. Then on this side of the stove, I have some canisters here with oatmeal and flour. And then on this tray, I have a white pine tree, a little white house, of course another pine cone. Down below, I have a couple more houses, and I have a marshmallow and a cocoa sign that my sweet friend made for me a couple years ago. And I also have a little black deer. I shared this tiered tray in my Decorate With Me video last week. I think it came out really cute. I just love this little addition of red into this room. I think that it brightens everything up for the holiday. And over on the other side here, I have this other little tiny tiered tray that I got at the Target dollar spot. I have it all dressed up with some really cute Valentine's pieces. I have this little Cupid sign. Down below, I have another little sign from Bailey's Branches with February 14th on there. I have my sugar canister here, and then I have this heart dish with a couple little love letters on the inside. My table is all decked out very simply with this little arrangement that I have done on this Lazy Susan that I found at Target. I just have a wreath there in the middle, and then I just have our napkins, our salt and pepper shaker, a little pine tree, and a Rae Dunn marshmallow canister, and this little wooden lamp that we use as our nightlight. I have shared the decor in my family room in my Decorate With Me video. I will be sure to leave a link in the eye in the sky and down below for you. I really think that this is our coziest room. We spend a lot of time in here as a family, and it's where we go to, just relax and be together. So I always get a lot of questions about my wreath above my mantle. When I find a piece that I love, like this wreath, I really just try to find different ways to adapt it to the different holidays. The base of this wreath I found from Hobby Lobby. I got it for 50% off, and what I have tried to do is just add different flowers to it. Sometimes I have pumpkins in it, sometimes I have bird's nest in it for the spring, but I try to add a little something different along the way to make it special for the holiday that we are in. Each side on the mantle, I have it pretty much the same. I have 2 pine trees in Rae Dunn canisters. On those candlesticks there, I have some birch tree candles that I found from Kirkland. And that last piece there is like a little pineapple that I found at HomeGoods. I also get a lot of questions about my china cabinet here in the family room. It's always the same too. Where did you get it, and did you really paint that yourself? So the answer to where we got it in a furniture store in Southern Virginia, probably like 15 years ago. It is a Laura Ashley piece, and originally it was stained a very dark oak. I have always loved this piece, but after a few years, it was just this really big, dark piece of furniture that kind of, stole the light out of the room, and I wanted to change it up a little bit, and I decided to chalk paint it. Now, I had never chalk painted anything on my own before, and I was so afraid that I was going to mess it up, but I thought I would give it a try anyway, and I could not be happier with the result. It was such a simple process. It took me a long time. My husband took all the doors off of it. He took the glass out of the upper doors for me. And down below here, these open spaces with the little shelf in it, those also had doors at the time, and I just wanted to get it to be open and light, so we just kept those off. And it was this piece that set me on the journey to lighten up everything in my home. I just love the way that this piece reflected the light. It just gave such a light and airy feeling to the room, and I just loved it. So if you ever have a desire to try to chalk paint a piece of furniture, I recommend, hitting up like Goodwill or Salvation Army, find a little cast off piece of furniture and try all the techniques that you want on it, and you will find that chalk paint is so forgiving. You don't have to strip your furniture, you don't have to sand it, and it just gives such a beautiful result. And my favorite new addition to this room is this large blanket basket that I have here that I found at Target a long time ago. I have a bunch of these baskets in the house, and I really just love the way they look. I love the texture of them and the color and really the size. They can hold a bunch of things. So in this one, I have a couple blankets, I have some pillows, and another beautiful sprig of pine and pine cones. I shared in my last video that little blanket up front there, the ivory one with the tassels, was one of my grandma's that she crocheted herself back in the 60s, and it is just one of those pieces that I truly love. I wanted to share another well-loved piece in this room. This is my very first typewriter that I collected years ago. It is an Underwood standard piece. I believe it's from around 1919 to 1925. This piece doesn't work as well as my other typewriter does, but I just think that it is so beautiful. On top, I just have a couple coverless books and a pine cone with a little snowbird up there, and one of my absolute favorite pictures of my husband when he was a little boy. So that's going to do it for me today. Thank you all so much for watching this cozy home tour. Check the description box down below to links to some of the items that I mentioned in today's video. Join our community over on Facebook and Instagram at My Bashful Life, and please don't forget to subscribe. I would love to have you all back as part of our YouTube family. So until I see you in that next video, I hope that you love the life that you have, be kind to each other, stay safe, and I will see you again soon. Bye.
Though my lips are sealed, you still get me, yeah you do. That's why I said that we should be